Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. This time I'm watching There Is Something Hiding Inside Earth by Kurzgesagt. Very good clickbaity title. I have no idea what this could possibly be about because the title reveals nothing. So let's check it out.
We've found a new planet, home to octillions of the most extreme beings living in the most absurd and deadly hellscape. In absolute darkness, crushed by the weight of mountains, starved of oxygen, cooked alive, bathed in acid, salt or radiation.
This is supposed to be about
And
Earth
yet,
though?
they live for thousands, perhaps
What is that supposed to be,
millions of years.
Cthulhu?
It turns out, this planet is not in space, it's inside the crust of Earth. This is the deep biosphere, and we basically learned that it exists yesterday. Its volume is at least twice as large as all the Earth's oceans, home to more microbes than the rest of the entire planet. Their total biomass is more than 20 times greater than all humans, livestock and animal wildlife.
Okay,
Let's descend
that's a
into
lot.
this mad, deadly world where none of the rules we thought are mandatory for life apply.
Okay, this is
Going
pretty interesting.
deeper and deeper. Deep life seems to be everywhere we look, below the oceans, near volcanoes, beneath the glaciers of Antarctica, under any landscape we can imagine, and anywhere we live.
What could possibly
We'll
be
use a
down
special
there?
duck science drill and start our journey in familiar territory, on land, in the soil where plants grow and animals roam. If Earth were an onion, this is the very top of the very top layer. Soil is a lavish four-way partnership of air, water, minerals and organic matter bathed in endless energy. Life lives in luxury here. Plants exploit this paradise and produce more than 30 times the biomass of all of Earth's animals each year, in a constant cycle of growth and decay. Only a tiny fraction of the biomass is buried deeper in the ground, supplying juicy resources for almost 500 million years. As we dig deeper, most of the air has been squeezed out, and we cross the water table into a zone saturated with groundwater, rich in minerals and some organic matter.
Groundwater?
Roots from the most ambitious plants reach down here.
Oh, so this is
and
still
the
pretty
most
high
common
up.
inhabitants are scavengers living off decay. This layer can be pretty cold because it's still slowly warming up from the most recent ice age. We reach bedrock, a foundation of solid rock for all the less
You can't
solid
dig
stuff
through
above,
that.
home to fractures filled with water.
Minecraft proved it, you
can be
can't dig
exposed
through
to the
it.
surface or buried hundreds of meters below stuff. Here in the dense bedrock, we're in a weird planet inside the planet, the most thrilling zone of the deep biosphere. As we drill further down, temperatures gradually begin to rise, and soon it gets really hot and the pressure rises. Underneath 400 meters of rock, the pressure is similar to the surface of Venus. We drill faster now, down
only
to
400
1,000 meters, deeper than
Okay,
the Burj
1,000.
Khalifa is tall.
That's still
It's
not
about
that
30
far.
degrees Celsius, and there's almost no free oxygen left.
How much?
30 degrees Celsius meters, deeper than the Burj Khalifa is tall. It's about 30 degrees Celsius, and there's almost no free
30 degrees Celsius? But that's not that much.
oxygen left. We continue and finally stop almost 4 kilometers down. Above us, pressing solid rock weighing tens of thousands of tons, with
So a lot of
pressures
stuff
as
was
intense
skipped.
as at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Down here, it's on average as intense as at the bottom
So
of the Mariana
4,000 meters
Trench.
is just as intense
Down
as
here,
the
it's on average
11,000 that is in the
120
Mariana
degrees Celsius.
Trench.
Even hotter if a magma plume. It's on average 120 degrees Celsius. Even hotter if a
120.
magma plume is nearby. The heat is a leftover from Earth's formation and from the decay of radioactive elements like thorium and uranium that shower the crust
Whoa! Why is the uranium so thick?
with a constant wave of radioactivity.
Look at it jiggle.
To make things
Oh, the
worse,
physics.
some rocks are mixed with extreme amounts of salt. Hell.
SpongeBob.
And yet,
Well, the
life
dried out
is
version.
thriving inside rock. If we zoom in, we see that solid rock is not actually solid. It's traversed by cracks, voids, and tiny pores. Sandstone, limestone, or basalt are so porous that up to 40% of their volume is actually empty space. But even much denser rocks like granite
So is it
can
all
be
ju-
split
it's all
open
just
by cracks and
microorganisms?
fractures. We've found a gigantic planet-spanning system of microcaves, free real estate filled with water and hardcore microbes. And these caves are moving. Just like the atmosphere is constantly mixing air to create weather, down here rocks are mixing to create rock weather. Submerged mountain ranges
Rock
are shifting
weather?
and ripping, crashing and merging. continents smash into each other with the energy of millions of nuclear weapons, but as slow
Well, yeah,
as your
tectonic
fingernails
plates.
grow. Countless tiny and not so tiny earthquakes rip open tiny new fissures and passageways, creating new spaces for life and closing others off forever. In this hot, moving pressure cooker, minerals are forged and baked, and organic molecules are created and destroyed. An insane menu for anyone brave enough to try to survive down here. Let's venture into the system of tiny caves and meet some of them. The most
So what exactly
extreme
actually
living
lives
things.
down there?
We think that octillions of microbes live down here, and naturally they are pretty hardcore. The doomsday preppers of the underworld.
There's not
Some
going
have
to be
big,
any like
bulky
significant
genomes
life
living
down
entirely
there.
on their own, basically forming their own ecosystem, like the bacterium Desulforidus aurex viator. It synthesizes its own food by nibbling carbon or sulfur from the rock and turning it into organic substances. If the conditions get too extreme, or if there's no food around, it kills itself to survive by forming an endospore. It divides into a
What?
big and a small part and swallows the small part again, forming a cell within a cell. The outer cell then sheds its water and kills itself, leaving the spore to float around, maybe for thousands of years, until it finds a good place to spring to life again. Others like some company, like the
So is that
archaea
just
with
like
the clunky name
invincible?
Artiarchium hemiconexum, that have a rare double membrane covered in weird materials that protect them against the extremes. They shoot out nano-sized grappling hooks to tether themselves and seem to live in cracks and fissures filled with water completely devoid of oxygen, harvest carbon dioxide to create biomass, and may sort of eat hydrogen. The conditions in the deep biosphere are so harsh that other microbes share the hard work by forming consortia. They knit themselves together in a biofilm, a very thin, sticky
That's
net
cool.
that shields them against the extremes. They are miniature cells, often with a small genome, but each good at one thing. One type of microbe
Memes.
eats methane and excretes its electrons. A second type eats these electrons and converts sulfate into sulfite that's then eaten by a third microbe, and so on.
So it's just symbiosis. They all just work together to keep each other alive, basically. This is more interesting than I believed it would be.
Some eat iron, others use electrons to turn nitrogen or carbon dioxide into biomass. Life down here found ways to use stuff that's poisonous to most animals to make food and energy. But still, life is incredibly hard, and resources and energy are super hard to come by. So the most
Everything is
intense
limited.
strategy for survival down here is to live forever. Like monks who've taken a vow of poverty, deep microbes consume very little and conserve their energy. Their metabolism is up to 1,000,000 times slower than microbes at the surface. They had a meal when you were born and are still digesting it. For most of their life, they exist in a slow limbo. Some even slowly cannibalize themselves, until a sudden influx of resources arrives by pure chance, and then they spring into action and reproduce. With this lifestyle, it seems that extreme microbes
they're
can live for
basically-
centuries,
they're
maybe
basically
even for
invincible.
millions of years. If they're not hunted to death,
No,
of course.
they're not actually
Because
invincible, but
kilometers
it's
deep
pretty
in
damn
limestone
close.
habitat, there seem to be spaces big enough for multicellular predators. We've found asexual worms, 100 times longer than
What?
microbes, hunting and devouring bacteria. It's not clear if they originated down here or if mini earthquakes opened
So there's
up
actually
fractures
predators
or walls
down
to
there.
carry them into the deep. But there are other fierce predators like rotifers or arthropods in the depths, hunting immortal microbes. We wish we could tell you more insane things about life in the deep biosphere, but there's a problem. We don't know that much yet.
Yeah,
For one,
how are you
we
going to
can't
get
really
information
a good look
about
at the
anything
kilometers
that
of
far
rock.
down?
Drilling down could contaminate the samples with microbes from the surface. We've found living ones in deep mines and brought them into the lab. But it's pretty hard to simulate the conditions they feel comfy in boiling hot water, squeezed under mountains, submerged in deadly chemicals, and still see them through a microscope. And the microbes live so slowly for so long that nothing might happen. A lot of what we know about them we got from turning them into a slurry and looking at what their genes could do, like breathing nitrogen or eating methane. We know that the diversity of life
Yeah, also, how do you figure out that these things can basically live forever? Or just thousands or millions of years? How would you figure that out? Is that like proven, or is that just a theory? Because we haven't been observing these things for long, therefore all of this should really still just be a theory and not a fact. Whatever, I'll just believe what they tell me. I'm a
the
sheep.
deep biosphere must be staggering, and that some of the most hardcore and extreme beings live down there. This is a proper frontier of science, super hard to study, and most of what we know we've learned in just the last 20 years. There is so much more undiscovered mystery for us that could bring us progress in medicine, energy,
The animation makes it look far more interesting than it probably really
our
is.
gaze from the inside to the outside again. Since we now know how extremely large the deep biosphere is and how life down there survives without light, oxygen, same temperatures, or not being covered in poison, could there be deep biospheres all over the universe? Maybe all you need is a planet or moon with internal heat or radiation.
I mean, there
and a
probably
chemical
are.
composition that allows microbes to build the
If it's
parts
possible
they
on
need.
Earth, it's probably possible
Some
everywhere
scientists
else
suggest
too.
there could be 10 of them in the solar system, hiding beneath a seemingly dead and frozen surface. So as we learn more and more about the life below our feet, we may accidentally learn about life in the universe.
This was a very interesting video. I did not expect that there would be life that deep down. I expected it to just be a bunch of different minerals, rocks, fossils, that type of stuff. I didn't think there would actually be living beings. Of course, most of them are just microbes, small, insignificant organisms, you would think, but apparently that's not the case. These things actually have some sort of bigger impact. They're basically invincible. And there's even predators down there. You know, it's interesting to think about this because the Earth's crust is around 40 kilometers deep, and yet we've only dug down 12 kilometers. That's the deepest man-made hole on Earth. 12 kilometers. And the crust goes down 40. Just how much stuff is down there that we still haven't actually found yet? How much crazier does stuff get down there? The microbes in this video, I think these were like at around 4,000 meters deep, 4 kilometers, but how crazy does it get 10 times further than that? What kind of horrid abominations are living down there? Is there anything living down there? Is life that far down actually still possible? It's interesting to think about. I'll probably never get an answer to that during my lifetime, or we may just never get an answer to it at all, because what's really the point of digging that far down? But yeah, it's interesting. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, comment, the usual YouTube stuff. And if you're interested, why not watch this video right here? And with that, I hope I'll see you in the next video.